Guys, you don't have much hair, you gotta get time.
On Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it feels so.
I didn't submit. So
The initial team.
So now I'm to see if I even make it.
Got it.
I don't know, I haven't been,
Oh, I don't blame you.
Hey, class, I'm shaking.
There's so many issues. I know you know that. But ever since COVID, you book a flight, and then you get an email like weeks later saying they've changed it. And I don't know.
and then they
Do I fit? Do I
See
fit?
if your neck fits in
It
here.
looks like it does.
I don't know, might be a little bit small. You don't grind it.
Good morning.
Yeah, I almost called the taxi
Got 2 or 3 down.
Well, you're gonna take 2 or 3. I didn't say that. Good morning.
And she's normally, I mean, I'm a fan, I've got a surprise for internet. She's had a married life. Out there like that, I think, grab me off some of that.
So you switch planes there, switch planes there. No, no, I.
You know, that's okay. At least there's one point to stay. You stay here. I'm trying to stay
That's probably why you show.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm gonna fill in just a couple minutes so we can, because we're live now. You haven't picked up a bulletin, grab one. There's several people in there that are mentioned that need prayers and some encouragement. Got a couple of visitors here in the back. Looking for a congregation. Make sure you greet them, say hi to them. Robert, if you're going to take them to lunch, yeah, I'd like to go too.
Okay.
So, we'll see.
If I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, I'll just read off a couple of names here of people that need prayers. I guess Kathy, she had that tumor removed from, she's doing about as well as could be expected, you know, for a tumor that size, about like a baseball, I'm guessing. We reached out to Joe and said, hey, we can throw some meals together for you guys, but evidently he likes to cook, so he said he doesn't need any help right now, but it doesn't hurt if anybody wants to make anything, and we'll just make sure that they get it. Cheryl and Monty, Monty stopped by my house yesterday. He's going through procedures just about every day, and they're not simple ones. So give him a phone call every now and then, give him some encouragement. I don't know, he's kind of private a little bit, and he's a little prideful, but because I've offered more than once to take him to his appointments and treatments and all that, and no, I'm pretty good. I'm good with that, but I'm still working on it so I can be able to do that. Cheryl's the same way. She's going to be going through some surgery herself on her back, so we need to keep them in prayers. Of course, the Grace family, Roy and them guys.
Roy should be getting out tomorrow, latest Tuesday.
Out from where? From home or from? Oh, okay.
Going on.
Oh, good.
We may need to start a real training there, I don't know.
Okay, and they're not picky. Whoever wants to make something, they're not picky at all. They're just grateful to have whatever anybody can do for them. Debbie Trujillo as well. She sits usually in the back. She's still having some issues from her knee surgery. Robert, his sister-in-law, is she still
Better.
improving?
Yes.
Okay, good. And as always, you know, your first responders, the paramedics, firemen, policemen, military people, they need a lot of prayers and some encouragement as well. What I like to do personally, and I'm just throwing it out there, you know, and I spent quite a few years in the military myself, and they don't make a lot of pay. So, I mean, I guess it's fairly decent. It was pretty bad when I was in. It wasn't very much. But if you see those people out and about while you're having lunch or dinner or something, just go up to them and say, hey, how you doing? Appreciate what you're doing. Give them a pat on the back. I kind of take it a step further, and I'll get a hold of the waitress that's at whose table they're sitting at, And I'll say, hey, I want to pay for their meal. And you don't need to make a big deal about it. I said, don't even tell them it was me. Just bring me their bill and I'll pay it for them. It's pretty much a thankless position, those, especially nowadays. So let's try and encourage those people as much as we can. Let them know we appreciate them. It's because of the people like that from back in the day that gives us what we have today. I know we don't really think about it. We just had Veterans Day, so, and that's only one day out of the year that some of the country says, hey, let's give appreciation to these people. And, you know, just go there, you know, a simple thank you does wonders. It goes a long ways. So I'm just throwing that out there on my own. So does anybody have anything else they want to bring up? Robert? You're always good for something. No?
I think you're being picked up.
Good to have LeVon back.
God is good, yeah.
Second week,
Absolutely.
got home safely.
Yep, that's great. That's a great call. Alvin's got something.
Who?
Alvin.
Just want to ask for continued prayers for Jennifer because
Okay.
she's still dealing with a lot of pain. So surgery, her healing is very slow.
Yeah.
She saw the doctors last week and they told her she's a slow healer. So
Plus all that shuffling around and trying to organize and, hey, we've been here 4 years and we're still putting stuff away. It's not easy. Not easy at all. Vicki, how's David doing? Is he about the same, a little better?
We hope to be here for church, but he's just
Okay.
really struggling.
He did too much moving yesterday.
Yeah.
Of stuff, moving around stuff and so.
Oh, okay.
And we're getting ready to go on a trip, so he's just like, he's about,
Okay,
Start
well,
with fingers, you
we'll
little
give
bit.
you in prayers as well. So, yeah, I don't know where Raymond's at.
I have a question. Are we gonna do Wednesday night Bible class or is David's not gonna be here?
Is he not gonna be here because he's hurting or because you guys
No,
are
we're
going
going
on?
to
They're going out of
town
town.
one out of town.
for Thanksgiving.
Okay, how far are you going?
Michigan.
Michigan?
Yes.
Oh, man. You're not gonna drive, are you?
Oh,
Okay,
heck
good.
no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we'll still do Wednesday night class. Either me or Robert can.
Well, I'm not gonna be.
Because it's the day before Thanksgiving.
What's that?
It's the day before Thanksgiving, usually we do.
Usually no. Let me ponder that. What? Who said that?
No, I did not.
What's the feeling on maybe having a potluck the first Sunday of December? Because the last Sunday of this month is right after Thanksgiving. I don't know what the feeling is on that. No, you're gonna be gone.
I'll be gone, it's true.
Okay, just leave your food in the freezer,
oh, about the last.
and we'll be okay. But,
And to throw it out the first Sunday of December.
I'm sorry?
Family promise.
Oh, okay. What's going on there?
Raymond sent out a text this morning.
Oh, we did?
Email yesterday. Yeah.
Is that gonna start up again, what, next week?
It's this week.
Oh, this week, well, that's what I meant.
There's two families, I guess. And they have a list of what they want. So,
Okay.
yeah, he sent an email yesterday.
I don't know, I was pretty busy yesterday. How you doing, Jack and Cynthia? We're just filling in a little bit of time here till Raymond shows up. You got anything you wanna bring up, or? Yeah, somebody threw out if we were gonna have class Wednesday. So maybe we'll skip that. I didn't realize it was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Okay. So
There's a
we'll,
lot of preparation that goes on for family and everything during that time.
And your wife will be appreciative too. Just it.
I'm just getting from everywhere today. You act like she's the one that does all the cooking.
We love you. Yeah. That's
Oh,
okay.
you?
Oh.
Wow.
Wait. I can't quite reach it,
That's a good thing.
but it's. You guys act like she does so much. Nah, she does a little bit.
Oh,
She does a little bit.
Wow.
Hey, I gotta give her a little bit of credit. She started making some homemade tortillas.
Oh, you better be nice to her.
Huh?
You better be nice to her then.
The other day, well, I can still tear the bag open. No, the brand, it says homemade on the bag, so. You know. No, the grandkids came over last Saturday or Sunday and they wanted to make tortillas, the smaller ones. So she's out there showing them how to do it. Marissa does it really well. I mean, hers came out really good. The little Tyler, the little boy, he needs a little work. But he's good at eating them.
Amen.
But she says, you know, now that I remember how easy it is to make them, she goes, I'm going to start making them fresh. I go, okay, good. That'll save me about, I don't know, $15 a week from buying the bags. But, okay. Anyone else? Nobody? Okay, Raymond's on his way, I'm told, so he should be here in a couple minutes. Yeah, if you can really get some of these people, I mean, just take a couple minutes and give them a phone call, you know, especially Monty and Cheryl. Like I said, they're pretty private, they're going through a lot that's not really put out there unless you really know them quite well. And like I said, Monty came over yesterday morning, we spent a little time talking, and he's having it pretty rough. So, you can't imagine going through the treatments that he's doing. So, okay, anyone else? No? I was going to do more photos today, but somebody left at home one of the components that I need. I didn't mention any names. But anyway, now Rachel's done a lot. She's done a great job putting the new directory together. It's a lot of work. If I missed some of the, even though we can't do the photos, if I get some information, because I think Jeff and Karen, we don't have some of your information doing like your address and phone numbers and stuff.
I gave it to you last week.
You did?
Yeah, they're full out.
Oh, okay.
And I have their picture too.
Yeah.
Oh, I did that too?
Well, no, I gave her one. I just gave her a random picture. Because Millie wasn't here.
Yeah, but she's here today.
She is.
But
I want to get my picture retaken today too.
what's wrong with the other one?
Well, Jason's changed a bit.
Oh, he's changed in the last month, huh?
I was taken last year.
No, was it?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Next Sunday then.
See, you
Rachel.
won't be here next Sunday. So you gotta get
Hopefully,
the picture that
hopefully I'll be here next Sunday. I should
Oh
be,
my goodness.
if everything's on time.
This was supposed to have all been done by the end of July. But we got different people, nameless people that, oh, I want this and I need that. Okay.
We'll take your picture today. I'll use my camera. It's fine, I'm just giving him a hard time. It's fine.
Heather, I'm trying to remember your name. Okay. All right, Jeff, you got anything you want to contribute to the cause?
To the who?
To the cause, information-wise?
Nothing exciting.
Nothing exciting.
Nothing too exciting. So we're just thankful to have our daughter home from college. Amen.
Oh, yeah, where's she from?
Harding. Well, she's from us.
Oh, okay. Man. You guys,
That's how it works.
you guys should go
Oh,
to
wait,
the
you have one other thing.
you guys should go to the comedy club, I tell you.
29 years today that I've been married to this beautiful woman here.
And 4 or 5 of them have been pretty good, huh? Yeah.
Amen.
Okay. Hey Joe, how you doing? How's Kathy? We were just updating people on what was going on. Is you guys doing okay? And
Yeah, it's getting better every day.
okay, good. Getting stronger every day. And I was just telling everybody that just before you came in that I guess you're like me, where you do a lot of the cooking at home. So we were just bringing up because of the meal train. If you guys need anything, let us know. There's more than enough people would be glad to help out. So, okay. We got Jeff out of the way. We got Heather out of the way. No one else? Okay, I thought I just saw Randy's car pull in, so I'm gonna get out of the way. I guess we're gonna finish up on the thread. Are we done with everything else? You guys are really on a roll today. Jay coming?
No, he's working today.
He's working.
You know, Bluebell's on sale now, which is for $3.97.
I missed that part. What?
Bluebell is on sale now, which is for $3.97.
Bluebell.
I'm sorry, we have to redo our directory.
No, what is it? Is that like butter or
Oh, it is.
ice cream?
It's a half gallon.
It's a full
It's a
half
gorgeous
gallon.
half gallon.
It's usually 7 something.
From Brenham,
Albertsons
Texas.
sell for 3
From
something.
Brenham, Texas, that's where they have a cow.
Okay,
Rocket.
I kind of apologize then for those of you that eat ice cream.
Oh,
You don't eat ice cream?
you go to Brenham, I didn't know you had been to Brenham.
I haven't eaten ice cream in,
You don't eat ice cream?
10 years or so.
Oh, man.
It's like there's something wrong with that.
Do you do dairy or no?
Yeah, I just don't eat ice cream. I'll have yogurt.
They're not here today. They normally sit up this in front.
See how quick that is?
Yeah.
I'm like a coiled spring. So Rachel, bring that next week. No,
So if you choose that price, you start to pick up the 4
It's not bad.
Bibles, go to Exodus chapter 20.
That's not new. Okay,
Exodus chapter 20. I had asked my dad to start in my place, go over some prayer requests and announcements. Okay.
Yeah, we finished Exodus.
That's usually how it goes if I'm not teaching, it just, we get it done. Huh? So, real quick, one last announcement is normally we have a Christmas banquet, and what we do is we give the information to the school counselors, to the school district. They distribute it to their counselors. The counselors identify children who are in need of something like that. We usually cooperate with the school district. We partner with them. And we collect the toys. We have a toy store. Families who are designated by the school counselors, they come and they shop. Last year we did it here at our facility because the school didn't want to have people doing that in their facilities. And so, not that they didn't want to, they just couldn't do it. Let me rephrase that. They couldn't do it. And so the same thing seems to have happened again this year. They just can't have it. So they've asked us if we would do it here at our building again. So we're going to make plans to do that. So you'll see if you want to start purchasing toys, or if you have some left over from last year, we've got some that are still left over from last year. If anybody likes to wrap things, you're welcome. We'll get out the toys. We just need them to be wrapped. So we do have lots of toys left over. We just need them to be wrapped. But it's going to be elementary school age children, boys and girls, and a few high school kids. It's usually limited to elementary. The high school kids come along because they come along with brother or sister. You know, the parents come, they shop for the whole family. So, but it's usually elementary school age children, boys and girls, and that whole grade if you want to start shopping for that. And we'll start collecting those items next Sunday, and then we'll schedule the dinner in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So, just kind of be aware of that. If you can help volunteer with that, that would be great. We usually have a few of the guys who like to cook. Some of the guys actually cook our brisket for us. We usually have a brisket or a turkey of some kind. Most of our guys that usually do that, they're just out of commission right now. They're hurt, they're laid up, they're just not in a place health-wise to do that. So if that's something that you all can do in their place, let me know. You don't have to let me know now, just let me know. Okay, Exodus chapter 20. We left off on the 6th commandment. We got into the 7th commandment last week. So we're at the 8th commandment, and Lord willing, we'll push through 8, 9, and 10 this morning with the time that we have left. And again, Lord willing, next week we'll pick up and we will actually take a pause for a moment, and we're going to talk about the tabernacle itself. So hopefully we'll get to do that. So we're on your page 35, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So Exodus chapter 20, we'll just read verse 15. Do not steal. So we're going through the Ten Commandments, the law given by God to Moses, to the children of Israel. Do not steal. The basic command is that you are not to take without permission what does not belong to you. This includes objects, feelings, rights, knowledge, potential, ability, so on and so forth. The key question, regardless of the object, is, does this truly belong to me? So if I'm taking something, the question is, does this belong to me? And the key principle is that we should love our neighbor as ourselves. Aside from property violations, stealing is always an act of unkindness towards someone else. The 8th commandment demands that we not take what does not belong to us rightly. How does that impact us when we take, how does that impact us and the one that we take from when we take something that does not belong to me?
It's a sign of total disrespect, a sign of lack of love, care.
A lack of love, a lack of respect.
Care.
caring is absent there. So how does that impact relationship? If I walk up to you and I see something that you have and I like it and I want it, so I just walk up and I take it. How's that going to impact our relationship?
That's how wars start. Yeah.
That's how wars start, right? So on a grand scale, we see how that plays out. On a small scale, if there's something that I think is really nice, and I think I should have it more than you should have it, and I just decide that I'm going to walk up and take it, now what is your reaction most likely going to be?
That's how fights start.
That's how fights start.
Arguments.
Arguments.
It's greed. It's greed.
It's greed,
Yeah,
right?
hard feelings.
Hurt feelings. So, even if I give it back to you at some point, there's going to be some hurt feelings that are there, right? I just walked up and took something from you. So it damages relationship. It damages trust. Where, are you going to want to leave your stuff laying around?
Absolutely not.
No. So we have stuff that lays around the building from time to time that has value, and from time to time it goes missing. It grows legs and it walks away, and it's gone. And it can be anything. It's really interesting because it can be anything from something small to something that costs, nearly $1,000. Still small, but expensive. And there's not a lot of thought given to this actually costs someone or the church funds to have these items here, and then they're gone. Then they've gone missing. And so what happens is now we get these items that can easily get up and walk away that are expensive, and they're locked in a room now. So different rooms in this building have locks. And there's also a safe that is in this room. So why? Because things go missing. Even in an environment such as this, things go missing. And the reason why now these things are put in place is because there's a violation of trust that now exists. So stealing is not just something that we just kind of gloss over. It's not something that we should just push by. It really has an impact on us individually and community-wise in how we interact and deal with one another. And if you get away with taking something one time, are you likely to try it again? Yeah. Statistically, that's proven. That's how it works. So I got away with it. Well, nothing happened. There were no consequences. I'm going to try this again. And so it just begins to perpetuate itself. So it has a real impact on the person who is doing the taking as well as the person who is taken from. It's more damaging sometimes than what we recognize. It's interesting right now because it's the holiday season and it happens throughout the year. People can walk into a store and load it up and literally walk out. And the employees are told, just let them go. Don't engage in confrontation with them.
So is the security agent. So is the security agent is told the same thing.
Yeah, they're told just to, and the reason for that is?
The injury, they're not covered, insurance, the whole bit, they're not covered at all.
So,
And then on top of that, the DA's office usually in a lot of these big cities won't prosecute anybody.
oh yeah, Sandoval County is huge for that, for small, what they consider small crimes such as that. They don't do anything at all. So, our society kind of looks at it as just a minor thing, but it really tears at the fabric of who we are. And so, yes sir?
We come to obey man's laws more so than God's laws.
Right. So, there are folks that seemingly are decent people that realize I can walk into a store and walk out with some large item or small item, and nothing's going to happen to me. The store doesn't do anything. The law doesn't enforce or do anything. And that's just how it goes. But who suffers in the long run? Them and everybody else. Your prices get higher, things become more restrictive. So it has its impact. So when the Bible says, do not steal, it's not just a very laissez-faire kind of thing. It has a deep-rooted impact that we should not steal. So, again, this goes back to where we laid the basis of whose laws are these?
God's law.
They're God's laws. So it's not only my respect, care, and love that I should have for an individual, but it is my honor and respect for the lawgiver that ultimately I should obey these laws. So that's where it starts. Any other comments before we move on?
I was a fraud investigator for an insurance company for a couple of years. And most of the people who went out on sick leave, the vast majority of them deserved to be out on sick leave. That wasn't a problem. If they got 6 days off, they wanted 6 weeks off. If they got 6 weeks off, they wanted 6 months off. If they got 6 months off, they wanted 6 years off.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you know, it's the insurance company, they got a lot of money, and so it's no big deal. Well, I mean, if you're not sick, but you want money to stay home, that you, I mean, is that a form of stealing? In my mind, it is.
Well, absolutely. You're taking something that's not yours,
Yeah.
that doesn't belong to you.
And while the same person would never think of going into Walmart and walking out with a toaster under their arm, they have no problem with.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. You know, we would, it's a decent person that normally wouldn't walk into Walmart and walk out with something would do something like that because it's looked at differently, right? Honestly, it comes back to the same thing we file our taxes too. I did mortgages for over 17 years and did a lot of loans for people, did a lot of loans for various church people, and it was interesting. Can we turn off this fan, please? You know, where otherwise great people, but it seems when it came to that particular issue, it was looked at differently. Totally different.
You mentioned something about taking something that's not yours. Unfortunately, the example that Jack just gave about taking more time, they feel that they have a right to do that.
Sure.
They feel that that's theirs. That's their feeling, but it's a whole angst against our society and how we look at things and how these young people are being brought up and how we influence in everything.
Absolutely.
The more we allow these things to happen, the more we become desensitized and they happen more and more frequently.
Yep.
And then we have the balance issue of government and private sector, where it plays a factor in how much tax dollars do you put into the system versus how much tax dollars are handed out to people who choose not to work for themselves. And so in that regard, it's kind of the same thing. People are getting something for nothing and they expect more and more and more. So they take more and more and more.
So it comes down to, since we're dealing with this particular issue, when somebody takes something, I see what you have, I want it. There's a part of me that says, I deserve it more than you. Now, there are crimes of necessity, right? If someone's hungry, they might steal some bread. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the instances where it's just something that I want, and I take it from you, because really, I deserve to have it more than you should, and it's my right to have it. And so stealing takes on this whole different mentality, and then we define things, even though it's taking what's not mine, we have different layers of it. So it's a rooted issue, I am persuaded, where it comes back to just a basic foundation between what is right, what is wrong. If God says this is what you don't do, then this is what I don't do. So regardless of whether it's community or society or culture or law, it should make no difference to the child of God, because the child of God says this is what God says, and this is what I'm going to do. He says, don't steal, I'm not going to steal from you. Regardless of what it may be.
I'm sorry. What's ironic, sometimes you get some of these people that are thieves, basically thieves, and you steal from them. They don't think that's wrong, but you steal something from them, they're the first ones to jump up and down and say, hey, you can't be taking what's mine. You know, but yet, you know, they're the ones that will go through your house and take whatever it is and nail down.
So it really comes back to a heart issue. Let's move on to the next one. So, verse 16, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. This command prohibits a false witness against someone else, especially in a court of law. It uses a serious legal application to put forth the everyday need to tell the truth. So, To bear false witness is more or less a legal term. Basically, don't lie about your brother or sister, right? We don't do that though, do we? We never do that. We frame it differently. More or less. Huh?
Little white lie.
Well, we either call it a little white lie or we say, hey, let me tell you what happened.
Partial truth a lot of times.
Huh?
Partial truth.
Our partial truth, right? What'd you say? Gossip.
Sometimes that comes in the form of a prayer request.
Oh yeah. And sometimes it comes in the form of a prayer request. We really need to pray for this brother. I saw him at the bar last night stumbling out, fell into the curb, almost choked on his vomit. Well, a prostitute was helping him. We need to pray for him. We do that. We do that, and we cover it up with this sanctimonious talk. When I first got here 4 years ago, there was a lot of that. I'll be honest with you. Coming into my office and saying, "Hey, let me talk to you about this." And finally, it got to the point of, we can't do this anymore. This is just gossip. It took me a while to catch on. I'll admit that. It took me a while to catch on. And finally, it just ended when I said, "Hey, look, if you bring up somebody, I'm just going to tell them everything you told me. I'm going to tell them this is what you said, and they need to go talk to you because now they're aware of it, and the Bible says they need to go speak to you. And you need to go speak to them. And then I'm going to inform the elders, and they're going to be aware of it. And so now you have a clock that's ticking. Because they're going to come talk to both of you if this is not resolved in just a matter of a couple of weeks. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to step right out of it. So, lying and bearing false witness comes in all kinds of shapes and forms. And that's damaging. That is damaging. That's damaging to relationships. That's damaging to community. Just like stealing is. But in some ways, it can be even more hurt and more harm. Property and things you can give back, more or less, right? But when you hurt someone on a different level such as that, that's hard to recover from. It's not an easy thing to come back from. So,
That's like when I was working, catch people that stole something in the act of trying to get away, they get caught, and they say, "Oh, well, you know what, let me just give it back and it'll be okay." Sorry, Charlie, but it's not the way it works.
all right, Exodus 20, verse 17. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male servant, or his female servant, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. The word covet means enthusiastic desire. By itself is neither good nor bad. Our enthusiastic desire becomes the sin of coveting when we desire something or someone that is not permitted, or something gained unjustly. The Ten Commandments, we'll get to that last paragraph. So, coveting. What does that look like?
Looks like me wanting your house because it's nicer.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but yes, that's like somebody wanting your house because it's nicer than theirs, right? I really like that. And it's not just that you can really like something. There's nothing wrong with that.
But when it comes to the point that I'm doing everything I can to gain what you have.
Sure, yeah. It's where it takes on this unjust desire to have it, right? And it affects your attitude and your motives for different things because you want to gain what that person has.
It's a little bit of a obsessing over.
Yes. That's a good word. A little bit of obsessing over it.
It becomes the object of your praise because you want it more than anything else.
Absolutely. It becomes the object of our praise because we want it more than anything else. We've kind of put that as the focal point of where we're going and what we want. And God is saying, don't covet what somebody else has. Don't covet. And he goes into whether it's people or property, things. Don't covet any of that, right? So if someone else has a nicer house than you, well, God bless them.
Amen.
You know, thank the Lord that He has blessed them in such a way.
We don't know what it took for them to get that.
We don't know what it took for them to get that. You know, if someone has blessed someone with a wonderful job or a wonderful spouse or wonderful children, well, God bless them, you know. That's a blessing. We should be happy for our brothers and sisters, not resentful, not wanting to be vindictive in some way or sabotaging in some way.
That's a difficult line. Most anybody can be happy with everything. Very few people can be satisfied with nothing. As Paul said, whether I have or have not, I'm still going to do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, he says, therewith I'll be content. So I've learned to be content in abundance, and I've learned to be content in need. So, I mean, what you have is what God has allowed you to have. And what you have is still a blessing. Whether how great it is, or whether how small it is. And I say that from a perspective of having a home and losing a home. Having a job and losing a job. You know, so, yes, sir.
Yeah, would you, put in that same vein, I need to know something. I need to know the origins of something. I need to know knowledge or something about you. The same as covenant. Is that a covenant?
It depends. It's
I
like,
don't know if that's like we're seeing that in society now.
so the question is, what about pursuing knowledge, right? The need to know, information. So it depends on where, like we've said about with everything, what place does that desire to have that information have in your life? If that desire to have information is at the pinnacle of where you are, and it's replaced where God should be, well, now you have a problem, right? But that's with anything, whether it's information or items or people, whatever the case may be, it's where we place it. Notice, where did we start out with these 10 Commandments?
With God.
With God. What about God?
Not having any other God.
No other God. That's where we started. He is number one. And there is no number 2, 3, or 4. That's it. He's it. Period. That's where we started. And everything has flowed from there. So this is no different. Let's go to the last paragraph in your notes. The 10 Commandments are not a list of rules. The commandments prove that God wanted His people to be free. I am the Lord your God who took you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. That's how He starts out. I have freed you. I have freed you. Following the commandments actually freed the people from the terrible consequences of sin, making their lives better.
I don't know why this keeps coming in my head, but Jesus said, blessed are the poor, and it would seem like
Poor in spirit.
Poor and more grateful.
Yeah, well, He said, blessed are the poor in spirit. So here's the thing that I think we need to recognize. There's nothing wrong with having wealth. There is absolutely. Now, you can pierce yourself through with many sorrows, the wealthier you are. But there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. If God has blessed you in that way, then praise God. But what do we say about those blessings that God gives us? What does the Bible say about it?
He gives and He takes.
He gives and He takes. What else? Steward. You're a steward of it. You have it. You have it just to be a steward of it. What is the purpose of it?
To bless others.
There you go. It is to bless others and glorify God. What God has poured into you, whether it is an ability or finances or whatever the case may be, He has poured that into you so that you can pour it back out. Not to hold on to it. Not to grab it like this, right? It's for the advancement of His kingdom so that you can pour out into His will, into what He wants you to do. So, with that, Lord willing, we will begin discussing the tabernacle, the different pieces of the tabernacle, how it was set up, what it was used for, some of the ceremonial things that were done. And I love it. We'll try not to drone on too much about it. I really like studying the tabernacle. I think there's a lot of application. There's a lot of foreshadowing that happens there. And so there's just a lot to be gained from studying about it. So, Lord willing, we will discuss that next week, and we will prepare for worship.